Welcome to the Dirt Court Jesters Podcast, your home for dirt track racing across the country and right here in the Ohio Valley. This is Josh, and in episode 52, we are back to our regularly scheduled safety talk, wing talk, points this early in the season, and Luke Griffith, driver of the number 11G 360 sprint car, joins the show. I hope you guys are ready to get dirty. This week in dirt racing history, we're going back to May 17th of 2008 in Lucas Oil Speedway, where the Power Eye Midgets were on hand. Casey Schumann would get the victory, Mike Hess in second, and Chad McDaniel would round out the podium. This week's talking points, if you guys can't tell, trying to get over a little bug here. Apologize for the voice. Wouldn't be an episode if we weren't talking about wicker bills or safety. In this case, fuel cells seemed to be what was wrapped up in last week's talk after the wings started it off. Kelby Watt posted a picture of damage to his fuel cell, which was not from an accident, just from running the wall at Eldora. Flea Ruzick discussed how he suggested running a rod through the tank to prevent it from flying off and was told, quote, "There is no way to tech inspect it." Flea said it's easy, and if your tank flies off because the tube wasn't in there, you're suspended for 6 months. Sounds like he hasn't heard anything since. Now back to our regularly scheduled wing talk. Recently listening to the latest Dirt Nerds, where they discuss tech and qualifying wings. Then Saturday rolled around, and Anthony Macri, Danny Dietrich, and Hunter Schurenberg showed up to Williams Grove and ran qualifying wings during the PA Outlaw Morgan Cup battle. I don't know, I had a thought. Why not make teams run the same top wing all night? Now, certainly if you have damage throughout the night and you need to swap your wing, that's one thing, right? But I don't know, would that be too hard to police without enough help? Would you have to have more help? I don't know the answer. These are just thoughts that I've had. Sharon Speedway increases weekly 410 payouts. The feature payoff for all of 2025 410 sprint car events now stands at $17,660. The winner gets $4,000, second $2,000, and third will take home $1,400. 15th through 24th with $400. Tow and or non-qualifier $100, and there's no membership fees to race at Sharon. And I typically don't talk about points this early, but Saturday at Williams Grove may have set the World of Outlaw Sprint Car Championship already. For the record, I thought Gravel was going to be your champion once again, but the wreck involving Macedo and Schuhart, which if you didn't see it, man, it was nasty. I'm glad those guys weren't hurt, especially Schuhart. Bottom of Macedo's car, right in the top front of the frame. Neither of them were hurt, thankfully, but it took both of them out of the race and makes a big hole for those guys to climb out of if they want to catch reigning champion David Gravel. Now let's go behind the rock screen.
You're welcome to come on in. We'll bring out the moonshine, start telling lies and calling up the women. But no talk about racing. Come on.
Hey everybody, this is Josh with the Dirt Court Jesters Podcast. Awesome to be joined by Luke Griffith, driver of the number 11G sprint car from Sandusky, Ohio. Luke, thanks for hopping on.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So I want to start out with saying you don't like half miles?
I'm going to have to own up to that because I catch a lot of flack for it on the internet because it's a pretty bold take, but I should say I like watching the racing at half miles, but yours truly here is more of what I call a short track specialist. I don't really thrive at the half miles too much. Maybe it's because I don't have enough horsepower. Maybe it's because I don't have enough between the seat. But they're not my favorite, so to speak. But tip of the cap to the guys who can do it fast and do it the right way. I'm just not one of those guys usually.
Adam Crew told me one time that if you're going to run up top on a half mile, you better have a big bank account and some big balls.
That might be the most spot-on statement I've ever heard. Or if you don't have the big bank account, you just don't care and you're there letting it all hang out.
So let's start out with, how did you get into racing?
So my grandfather started an engine shop in Sandusky, Griff's Engines, back, I couldn't tell you what year. And when he retired, my uncle took it over. My uncle actually raced super modifieds, a little bit of non-wing sprint car stuff, a little bit of early wing sprint car stuff, like I'm talking plywood wings and stuff like that. And then a little bit of transition into more modern stuff. He ended up, I think he stopped racing competitively like late 90s, early 2000s when he was running supers around here. And my dad kind of helped him, didn't really take over ownership of the engine shop, but he got my brother and I into it. I started racing go-karts when I was 4, and just kind of worked my way up from there, mini karts, and then I think we run some 4-cycle restricted stuff, and then we run a lot of Yamaha 2-stroke stuff kind of in this Fremont part of the world. We traveled a little bit, but by that point my brother was racing sprint cars, so we were kind of limited. And then I started in 305s. I ran 4 or 5 shows around 2013 just so I could be eligible for Rookie of the Year the following year. In 2014, that would have been my full first season. And we raced 305s for a while at the Fremont Attica scene, the occasional Waynesfield appearance, wherever else, Mansfield, when we were able to travel. We raced a little bit with the 360s when we could, and then in 2022, we moved to full-time 360 racing with, at that time, the NRA, and then in 2023, the GLSS and NRA merged together. So in 2023, we raced pretty much all NRA stuff with a few miscellaneous stuff sprinkled in. And then last year, I was fortunate enough to be able to run 410s for Phil Capodice in the 12 car for most of the year. And then we mixed a little bit of our 360 stuff in when possible. And then this year, we're back to doing 360 stuff again.
So I read somewhere that Waynesfield is your favorite track. I think it was your bio on my race pass, if I'm not mistaken. Is that still true, and what makes it your favorite track?
So I might have to update the My Race Pass, I won't lie. Now, no shade at Waynesfield. With Rich and Shelly Farmer taking it over, I'm sure it's going to be dynamite. It still holds near and dear to my heart. But I'll tell you what, there's nothing like running the wall at Jacksonville, Illinois. We were fortunate enough to go there last year. We raced a 3-race weekend in Illinois and Iowa with the Sprint Invaders. And we raced Jacksonville on Friday. We raced 34 in Burlington, Iowa Saturday. And then we raced East Moline, Illinois, kind of an oddball that they hadn't raced in a while, on Sunday. Those two are short tracks. 34 is kind of a big place. And Jacksonville took rubber about 6 inches off the fence with about 10 to go, and that was probably the most fun I've ever had in my life, and I didn't even care that I was racing in the rubber at that point.
So Jacksonville, Illinois is your track of choice now?
I'm probably going to have to roll with Jacksonville. I put Waynesfield at a close second, and then highly underrated gem of the Midwest, Spoon River, Illinois, has got to be third.
Okay, nice. Well, I like you giving me all 3. I can't say I've been to 2 of the 3. I've been to Waynesfield multiple times, and it's a cool track. The open area from 1 to 2 in the backstretch, I think, is neat, but I am not a fan of the wall starting in turn 3. I've had conversations with many people about that, and I've seen a couple people drill it, including Jerry Bowersock, and I wish there was something you could do about that.
Yeah, I won't lie, it kind of scares my girlfriend to death, but man, when you're on the top at Waynesfield, it's kind of like when you referenced Adam Crui's quote from earlier, you can't care, you're just there to go fast. I won't lie to you, last year I was fortunate enough to be able to run a fast show there in Phil Capodice's 410 car, and we got lucky, we got to start on the front row because someone jumped the start, and I got out front, run the top at both ends the whole heat race, felt like I was 3 inches from death for 8 laps, and came in and everybody told me how comfortable I looked. And I'll tell you right now, I've never felt more uncomfortable in my life, but it was fast. So
That's the quickest way around, right?
Right.
Well, you kind of touched on it. So you ran 410s and 360s in 2024, and I thought I saw something put out by you. Maybe I've got it mixed up where it seemed like you were going to kind of reel it in a little bit for 2025, and you're running with GLSS this season. Was there something that changed?
We're kind of running more of a limited schedule. Phil, I have nothing but great things to say about Phil and Tyler Capodice and the team that they have, and they all, Kyle included, who'd raced the car for a long time, they welcomed me with open arms. Kyle and I had raced go-karts together for a long time in our youth, and we all knew each other prior, and it was really a great team partnership. And, it's so tough in today's world to fund an operation to be competitive at any racing level, and especially the 410 level. And Phil's son Tyler was just getting into trying to race the 350 small block super modified division around here, and I didn't feel right trying to play my hand and race against, try to race over top of Tyler. And Phil and I had talked, and Tyler's his son, and I was more than understanding of him wanting to go racing with Tyler. So all's well that ends well, no hard feelings at all there. But yeah, I should say dialing it back a little bit. I mean, last year we raced 40 times between the 410 and the 360, by far the most of my limited career. Honestly, I don't know how these outlaw guys race 80 times a night, or 80 times a year rather. Maybe it's a little easier if you don't have a per se full-time job, but still tip of the cap to them, because I don't care if you got a job or not. There's no way that's easy. So we're probably going to race around 15, 20 shows this year, give or take. We've kind of got a rough schedule that we've mulled over, but it's all subject to change. Weather's a huge part of that. So we'll just kind of see where it goes.
You kind of touched on my next question in talking about your schedule for 2025. Is there anything that you're like, I'm for sure going to make this race? Is there any of those on the schedule?
I would say, as much as criticism as Lima catches, it is near and dear to my heart after, recording my only 2 wins ever there.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to be at every show at Lima if I can help it. Probably going to be at every Waynesfield show if I can help it, just because I love racing there. I'd really like to get back to Butler, Michigan if I can. Last year I was fortunate enough to get there a couple times in the 410. We had a couple top 5 runs, a second place run. I really enjoy racing there, and I really like what Tim Wilbur and their family has done with the place. For a while, Butler kind of caught a bad rap, and they are doing tons of improvements every year to get it headed in the right direction. Track conditions, facilities, pit area, practically anything you can think of, they're probably working on it right now. So I would say a Butler is a hope. We might try to travel a little bit, not really sure on that. Kind of depends on how the start of the season goes. Hopefully the equipment that's on the car now is the same equipment that's on it come July. But all open to interpretation at that point. So
okay, all right, very nice. You got to get back to Lima. 2 wins there in 2023, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I can only claim about 1.5. The second one took rubber, I won't lie. I was lucky. Randy Hannigan showed me the nose on the bottom, and I was up there on the top doing my best Caleb Griffith impression, trying to knock down the fence. And I thought, hey, I should probably go down there. It looks like it's the quicker way around. So snuck one out in the rubber. The first one was definitely the better one of the 2. But hey, you know what? I'll take 2 over none any day of the week. So.
Definitely. So you're talking about 2025 and some of the races you're going to run with. And before we start recording, you told me that you're going to be running a new paint scheme this season. Let's talk about that.
So, Dad and I had talked, and, I'm not getting any younger. He's not getting any younger. And we know we're not going to do this for forever. And we've pretty much had the same graphic scheme since I started. We've had a few little tweaks here and there. But my guy Bart Rader over at Banshee Graphics, big time supporter of mine, always has been, and I have nothing but great things to say about Bart and the work that he does. And but without divulging too many details, because I'm sure it'll come out here in the next couple days, I pretty much just told Bart, hey, no blue and yellow mixed together, and if you're going to use one or the other, don't mix them together, but have fun because I trust you. And I'll send you some pictures when we get done here, but man, I think you're gonna like what you see. It's pretty cool looking. I've gotten a lot of good reviews from the few people that I have showed. So, everybody's known me for so long being the guy with red, white, and blue with a little bit of gray mixed in, but it's definitely different. So Bart's first words to me were, "Well, I hope you didn't like people recognizing you because no one's gonna recognize you now." So.
Well, I mean, if you know me at all, I'm glad that there will not be a blue-yellow combination on the car.
Big time fan of the no blue yellow combo. A lot of people don't know. I'd like to give Bart just a small shout out. Bart actually does the graphics on the Kyle Larson Paul Silva 57 car, and a lot of people don't know that. I was at his shop picking up the car on Friday, and I don't know if it's a replica or if it's the original, but the 2024 Knoxville Nationals Champion Trophy is sitting in his shop at this very moment. So
you know what? You talk about that, and I know I've seen something about this where I don't know if Knoxville provides additional trophies or the guys that win may get some copies of trophies to give out to some folks, but that's freaking cool to have.
I'm sure I can about guarantee it's a replica. I highly doubt that Kyle would want to part with that, even though he's won 2 of them. But he's got a couple other interesting ones. He's got a King's Royal trophy in the back. To my knowledge, I believe he was the first person to ever print a mainstream cardboard check, and it was for Eldora Speedway. Now, I'm sure the fact checkers will come out and prove me wrong some way or somehow, but that was always the narrative that I was told, was that he was one of the first people to do that, and it kind of took off after that. So,
very cool, very cool. So, you've been racing. Did you start racing in 2013? Is that accurate?
Yeah, it was about late July, early August, because Attica always finishes around in September. So it was late. My first night was at Attica, and I want to say it was like the last weekend of July in 2013. I'd have to go back and look at official results to be sure, but I would say it was right in that time frame.
Well, I know you like you mentioned, you climbed the ranks and spent some times in some different type of race cars, 305s, 360s, 410s. You've been in it long enough. What do you, I'm always curious as to this answer, as to what do you feel, maybe you don't, is there's something different about sprint car racing now, technology-wise, that wasn't there when you started?
I'll be honest with you. The thing I've noticed more than anything, and not to throw shade at anybody because it's not my goal here, but when we were in 305s first starting out, a lot of guys that I started with, Ricky Peterson, Kyle Capodice, Jordan Ryan, everybody was running used parts. I mean, some stuff you bought new, it just kind of depended on where you were at, where your budget was at, but everybody buys new stuff now. It's just crazy to me. I'm probably running older stuff on my 360 than most of the 305 guys at Fremont and Attica are running. And, kudos to them guys for putting together solid entry cars. I mean, they could take and drop a 360 in that thing, or heck, some of them 305s make good enough horsepower, they could even be competitive with a lower grade 360. That's probably one of the things technology-wise I have noticed more than anything. The shocks have come a long way. Also, since I started, I was pretty much on standard pro shocks at the beginning, kind of like everybody else. And now, if you're not running factory canes, even to a degree adjustable factory canes, you're kind of outdated. And I know some guys run the Super Shocks, the purple brand. I know a lot of guys run AFCOs, Penske's, whatever you're comfortable with. But the gas shocks have become big. The adjustable shocks have become huge. Technology's never going to stop. So if you don't keep up with it, you're going to get left in the dust, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. And that's a conversation I always have with everybody is, like I told you, I'm in my early 40s. I've been going to the track for quite a while, and just how everything's have evolved. I always like to have the conversation of how stock cars are now modifieds, and modifieds are now late models. Like, it's just crazy how much it's changed over the years.
Well, and I know, you've spent a lot of time at the Eldora Speedway, kind of like me. My earliest memories of Eldora are going there in the early 2000s, like when Joey Saldana was running the white Hemsaw car, and Jack Haudenshield and others were floating between the Beef Packers car, Steve Kinzer in the iconic Quaker State number 11. And, there was a few of those semis that would show up. A lot of guys just had kind of nicer, pickup truck rigs. But, man, it seemed like towards the end of the 2000s, early 2010s, that just shot off the charts. Guys started spending more money. And, if you got it, I can't fault you. But it's crazy to me to think how much it's changed just from when I was a kid. I'm going to be 30 this December, but from then until now, I can't imagine somebody like my dad who was around when there were places where you couldn't even run a roll cage. Some were bolt-on roll cages when he was helping my uncle back in the 70s and 80s. So it's just, for me, it'd be wild to see the progress from his side of things, let alone from my side. So,
just thinking about the answer that you gave there, it brought me to another point. I don't know if you feel one way or another about this, but as much as the money has increased, for the most part, on guys putting money into the car, whether it's team drivers or combination, it seems like there are some tracks that are stuck behind. And I know it's a difficult spot to be in because a lot of times they're not making money, but I guess I think of the tracks in terms of safety. Safety is paramount, for everybody, in my opinion, whether you're a fan there or driver, certainly teams, right, and folks that are working at the track. I wonder why, I guess, one thing has been able to prosper and the other thing has not.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I think a lot of times, I've never been on the management side of a racetrack or a promotional side, so I can't really speak for their end. I've seen what I've seen from my side, but, that's completely different than what they go through on day-to-day activities. I'd like to give a tip of the cap to Attica Raceway Park. I saw recently this week they installed the Wheeling-style safety lights. I feel like those should be a thing most places. They're far better, brighter, easier to see than the traffic lights that were run for forever. I mean, those were great for the times, but, Lima, Fremont, Eldora, a lot of places have evolved and moved on. It's so hard, I think, for these tracks that are kind of not your mainstream places like your Knoxvilles and your Eldoras, your Port Royals, Williams Groves, big-time places, to be able to fund additional facility upgrades all the time. I will give credit, they try their best, but I know you and I have both noticed in-person attendance at racetracks has sharply declined in recent years, and it's concerning to me, not only from a driver's side, but just from a general racing fan. What's going to happen in 10, 15 years? I feel like the younger generation is maybe not quite as interested in racing as older generations were. Now, the tracks, I think, are trying to do their best to incorporate kids into it and get them started early. Like Attica always has a kid come down and say, let's go racing. Kids will remember that for forever. I do think Attica also does the Meet the Drivers Night. Lima does something similar. I think those are paramount for kids because they're going to remember that most of the time. And if you can create a core memory with them early in life, I really do think that it'll help increase attendance later on. Your Eldoras and places like that are never really going to have to worry because a lot of them are just paramount events. They're big time, they're prestige, they live off their name. I get worried about tracks like Waynesfield, Attica. Wayne County does a fantastic job at packing the place every single week, and everyone there stays until the compacts are done at the end of the night. But some places I've been, it definitely is concerning to me, and I think that's what leads a lot of times to the lack of facility upgrades that a lot of us feel should be more of a priority.
Yeah, that's kind of the point I want to make was, it's hard for them because they're trying to get people in the stands, and to do that really now you got to kind of watch what you're charging to get folks in, but at the same time, it costs money to upgrade things. Like that stuff's not free. So like you pointed out, some of those tracks are in a interesting spot right now. In Eldora, to them, it's especially because Eldora is now, like you said, it's really like a big race facility. It's not like it used to be. They run all the big races for the most part, and they've got their handful of I guess, a couple family nights and things like that. But really, I mean, they're packing the place on the big race weekends, and making up for the rest of the season where some other places just don't have that ability. So it's an interesting spot that we're in. kind of going back to the original topic, which was how much money is going into cars now, and how I guess it's not, everything is not trickling down. It's only getting certain spots are able to spend more and make more money.
And unfortunately, we all know this. It's not going to get any cheaper. Once something goes up in price, it never comes down. My only hope is that maybe we can get, as a country as a whole, our economy can get pointed in a little better direction and kind of stabilize things rather than have it keep shooting up the way it's been going.
Yeah.
It's so hard to field a competitive entry anymore. I don't care if you're racing compacts at Sandusky Speedway or you're racing 410 sprint cars at Knoxville Raceway. It's incredibly challenging to financially put together a plan to be competitive and not run your coffers dry. Guys like Brian Brown have done a terrific job at securing sponsorships and getting partners involved in dirt track racing that you wouldn't normally see at the racetrack. And I feel like to a degree other people have tried to do the same thing, maybe not to as much success, but I think that could be a big key in the future if we're able to get more sponsors in without it losing its grassroots racing element. Everybody looks up to NASCAR as, that benchmark for guys that make it in dirt racing. Your Christopher Bells, your Kyle Larson's guys move on, and that's ultimately the goal because that's where you're the most financially successful. But for the dirt track racing, grassroots element of it is big, and you don't want to lose that, but at the same time, you have to stay with the times, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah, it's, I think the big series, you could pick sprint cars or late models. It seems like that the big series, especially the big names, are really starting to you're making a really good living at this. It's kind of, and then we got the streaming stuff coming on, and I don't know what the numbers are. Maybe they're not making money. Maybe they are. It just seems like it kind of trickles only so far down and then it stops. And like you're saying, it could be a problem here in the next 5-10 years.
Yeah, and a lot of it, and you can't fault people for doing it. Some of it has become to the point where if you've got substantial financial backing on your part and you can, work out a deal with a team owner, that has become a huge thing. I can remember when my brother was racing sprint cars back in the early 2000s and up through the 2010s, a lot of guys got rides just because they were talented or because they were well liked. And not saying that still doesn't exist, because it does, but those are definitely few and far between compared to what they used to be. And tip of the cap to guys that on a local level can excel and find themselves in a great situation in terms of picking up a ride from somewhere that, it's a cutthroat deal. Everybody's out to try to get, advance their own career and come out on top, and, there's not enough space at the table for everybody. So it's definitely a rough deal.
Getting back to talking about racing, is there any race that sticks in your mind that you're like, man, I wish I could redo that? Doesn't necessarily mean you got to win the race, but just one race that stands out to you where it's like, if I had to redo it, that would have went a lot different.
Well, I've got about 3 of them. I'll keep it as condensed as I can. My rookie year, I was at Fremont, and I was fortunate enough. I can't remember what the inversion was, but I ended up starting on the pole. I started out inside my buddy Dan McCarron, and Rich Farmer was still promoting Fremont Speedway the first time at that time, and they had a deal where if you took I think they offered you, I can't remember what it was. If you went to the tail and won, I think you got $2,500 or $3,000 or something like that. And at that time we're still only racing for $700, something like that. And I looked at Dad and I said, "Do you want me to do that?" And he goes, "Absolutely not." I'm like, "Good, I'm glad we're on the same page." But I led about 24 laps and about 7/8 of that race and got passed by Steve Rando by about a nose wing coming to the stripe. And I got into 3 kind of low because I knew John Ivey was glued to me. And, at that time, John was the guy. You were trying to beat John Ivey and Bobby Clark and Paul Weaver. They were the big 3, if you will. And I got into 3 kind of low and kind of slow, and John clipped me getting in. I'm not mad at John. I mean, good God, it's been 10 years now. And I kind of washed up, and I'm like, oh, it's okay. We'll be all right. And, to Steve's credit, he channeled his inner Sheldon Jack Haudenschild out there on the outside line and got by me coming to the stripe. That's one of them. A couple years later, I believe it was 2016, it was in May at Attica. I started on the front row of a 305 race, and the cushion was about 3/4 of the way down the racetrack all the way around, and I didn't have a whole lot of experience at that point, and dude, I was like wild, man. I mean, I had that thing tied to the board. I wasn't lifting until I saw God. And I got into 3, and if the cushion was in the middle of the racetrack, I was probably 2 grooves above it getting in. And it bit me and turned me around and ended up spun out with about a literal half a racetrack lead with about 10 to go. And that one stung for a long time. I think my buddy Jordan Ryan actually ended up winning that race. But that one stung, and I had a 360 race last year at Lima. I took rubber, and I was running second to Devin Dobie, and I had a steering gear go out. They had a restart with 2 to go, and I was glued to Devin, about to go by him before the caution come out. And going into 1 on the restart, the steering gear went, and I had to turn left like 3 times to get back to the bottom. And I'm not saying I'd have drove by. Devin wasn't going to make it easy. He's got plenty of experience. But I have a feeling that if the gear wouldn't have went out, we might have been right there. But I can't blame that one on me. Maybe I can, because it probably should have come out and got rebuilt. But don't worry, it went to CSI last summer, and it got rebuilt, and that's what's in the car now. So
It's funny you bring up that last race, because I was watching that, I don't know, probably a half hour, 45 minutes before you and I started chatting, and you were on the move. I didn't realize that's what happened, but now it makes sense, and that would have been a hell of a finish, that's for sure.
Well, it's so hard when I don't care if you're racing wherever you're at. If it takes rubber, it's damn near impossible to pass anybody. And I was so good that it was like that Speed Week show at Lima where it was Sandstorm Special, where guys were running through the infield. I felt like I could put my left side tires almost inside the buried infield tires and go places. And I caught Devin in lap traffic, and I was just about to go by him, and he saw me at the last second and moved down, and I caught the infield tire and roosted a pretty big wheelie going down the backstretch. And I think that was what maybe gave up the ghost finally on it, because the caution come out like less than a lap later.
Yeah.
But Devin's my buddy. I was more than happy to see him win. We all know what happened in 2023 with Devin at Lima. So I was definitely grinning ear to ear that if I could win it, at least it was Devin.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. We're going to do some lightning round questions here before I let you go. So I've got 10 questions. Try and give me some quick answers. Let's see what you got.
All right, hit me.
Question number 1, celebrity crush growing up.
Growing up or now?
I mean, it's up to you.
Well, I don't know if I really had one growing up, but my girlfriend's probably not going to be too happy, but I'm going to go with Sabrina Carpenter right now.
Favorite cartoon?
Oh, man, the OG, Scooby-Doo, man. That was my stuff.
All right. Do you have a favorite pro wrestler?
Favorite pro wrestler? I'm not much of a wrestling guy, but I'm probably going to have to go with Macho Man Randy Savage, because there's a guy that comes to the Browns game dressed up like him.
Yes, I like it. Do you have a favorite song?
A favorite song, man, that fluctuates pretty hard. All time, I'm probably going to have to go. Oh man, you would ask me this. Can we come back to that one at the end? I got to think about that.
Good.
Okay.
Good. Do you have a favorite movie?
Favorite movie? I'm probably going to get a lot of shade for this because it's so dull, but it's hilarious. Napoleon Dynamite.
Okay, all right. Favorite vacation spot?
Favorite vacation spot was found last July. I went to Destin, Florida. I actually stayed in Navarre Beach, but beautiful area. Loved it.
It is. Very nice area. Something only few people know about you.
Man, that's tough. I feel like I'm a pretty open book on the internet. Man, this one, I'm probably going to incriminate myself, but I don't care. When I was a sophomore, swimming in high school, I actually bleached my hair blonde for a district event. Not one of my proudest moments, but that picture is somewhere on the internet if someone was to locate it.
Hopefully that shows up soon.
Hopefully it stays where it is.
If you could own one car, you come home from work, you pull in the driveway, you hit the garage door opener, the garage door opens, and you got a car sitting in there. What is it?
Oh man, all budget aside, it would probably have to be a red Ferrari. Call me basic if you want, but they just look tough.
All right. Do you have a go-to meal?
A go-to meal, man. Are we talking like a cooked meal, or are we talking like a bought meal?
Whatever is something that if somebody came up to you and said, "What would you like to eat?" Whether it was to go pick it up or have something homemade, what would be your go-to?
I'm a big steak guy, so I'd probably have to hit up. Last night, I actually did go to a steakhouse last night up here in Sandusky, but Texas Roadhouse, Longhorn, all good options. A big steak guy.
Nice. Funniest story that you've got from either the track or the shop or heading to one or the either?
So my buddy Josh Greenwood, he works for Jared Horseman on his crew. When we were down in Tennessee racing with the USCS, back when they had a USCS GLSS kind of merger event in, I believe it was 2023, there was a guy that came to we were doing maintenance in the hotel parking lot Saturday morning before the races, and he wanted to know if he could borrow a Sawzall. So he came over and borrowed our Sawzall because he had to cut his spare tire off of his wheel because the bead was stuck, so he could put his spare tire on so he could drive home, okay? Had a state highway patrolman escorting him and everything, trying to help him out. So we go to the races later that night, and my buddy Josh starts telling me the same story about some dude that showed up to them, and he rolls into the gas station, gets out of the back of a cop car, and looks at Josh and Jared and goes, "Bet you never seen anything like that, huh?" And it was just hilarious that they ran into the same dude 8 hours from home and had to tell us about it.
That's crazy. That is crazy. Small world.
Indeed, it is a small world.
All right, going back, if you got it now, favorite song.
Oh, favorite song. Probably going to catch a lot of hate because I'm a dirt track guy, and dirt track guys aren't supposed to be fans of rap. But I'm going to go with a lot of things Drake on that. I can't really narrow it down to one, but Drake is probably my favorite artist. So most of the tracks that he's made, I'm going to have to say are in my list.
All right. Very good. So a couple more things. They're not in the lightning round questions, but when you're not out on a lake, when you're not fishing or you're not hunting, where are you trying to go hang out when you're at Lake Erie?
Oh man, so probably a couple different places. I've got a buddy of mine whose cousin has an all-out, decked-out Cleveland Browns themed basement. Like I'm talking, he's got all the collectibles, all the signed stuff, the paint job, everything. It is a cool joint. So that's my hangout on Sundays. Go watch the Browns. Take a chance on my mental health. But usually when that gets over with, we play some cards. I'm a big card guy. So either that or I won't lie, I do enjoy an occasional trip to the casino. But I don't like being hot. So usually the most of my summer is spent indoors. Either I've got a PS5, so here lately I've been on a college football kick, so I'll roll that out. But that's usually my go-tos, I'd say. I'm not opposed to going and getting a nice dinner when it cools off about this time of night. But that's usually my go-to.
Do you have either in Sandusky or out on one of the islands, do you have a favorite restaurant on any of those spots?
So last night I went to one of my favorite places. It's a steakhouse over by Vermilion. It's called Angry Bull. And I'm a big fan. It's kind of hard on the wallet, so I don't go all the time. But every once in a while, I get a hankering for it. That's probably my go-to spot when I want something really good.
All right. And last thing for you, thoughts on our Cleveland Browns draft class?
Oh, man. I don't know how many times I've been asked this question since Saturday and Sunday both. But I wasn't opposed to the trade back. I mean, obviously I'm a diehard Ohio State guy, so picking a Michigan grad, Mason Graham, was kind of hard to swallow for me. But you know what? He's going to be a great addition to the defensive line to pair with our guy Myles Garrett after we paid him a lucrative amount of money to stay here. Honestly, I was pretty happy with most of the draft. The Dylan Gabriel pick in the third round kind of threw me through a loop because I felt like we drafted a Hawaiian left-handed baker that likes playing in warm weather that debatably might have about as good of an arm as me. So hopefully it pans out. No shade at Dylan Gabriel. I'm sure he's a really nice guy, but it just was kind of a head-scratcher for me. Obviously, the biggest debated pick was the Shedeur Sanders pick, and only using a fifth-round pick I'm okay with. If they'd have picked him with anything higher, like I put on Facebook, I probably would have thrown my toaster in a bathtub at the end of the night. But I'll roll with it. Hopefully it works out, and if it doesn't work out, hey, you know what? We can move on. It's not like we drafted Johnny Football in the first round again. So.
Well, it will definitely be seen. I'm with you on a lot of that stuff. We really kind of stand in the same spot. I'm still not sure about Shedeur, but we'll find out. I mean, I'm sure they're confident he can play, but obviously a lot of teams passed on him, so that'll be interesting to see how it shakes out for our Browns in 2025.
I mean, hey, we got the corpse of Joe Flacco out there, man. He's gonna throw for 336, 3 touchdowns and 2 picks. He's gonna be exciting to watch. So you heard this first. Draft Jerry Jeudy as your wide receiver 1.
Yeah, well, I think he's gonna put up some points. There's no doubt about that. But I don't know if I would pick him first. But he's gonna
probably not in the first. Probably not in the first round. Maybe the second. But either way, I think you should get your hands on him if you can.
All right, wrapping this up, Mr. Griffith, where can everybody follow you on social media? Do you have sponsors you'd like to thank and any merchandise available?
So, yeah, my Twitter handle, which everybody I'm sure has found by now because, I usually have kind of the flamboyant takes on the internet that are subject to criticism. My Twitter handle is @LukeGriffith11. Feel free to drop me a follow, shoot me a message, whatever. We can chat. I'm just a normal guy. Facebook, same thing, nothing crazy there. I do have some sponsors I'd like to thank. Jim and Brock Mays. I don't know if you remember Brock Mays from back in the day. Brock used to drive the blue and white 11B. I believe he still holds the track record at the Atomic Speedway for 410, believe it or not. But they've been close family friends of ours for a long time. If it wasn't for Jim in particular, I would have never even sat in a race car. So huge supporters of mine specifically. Same thing with my Uncle Gary. He's helped us out. My dad and my mom both have been huge. All my family, really. My brother, my brother-in-law, my sister, my girlfriend Marissa has been there for the whole thing from the start. She's always there for me, even when it seems like nobody else is, so I really appreciate her. In terms of sponsors, Ken Grieber with Grieber Racing Components has helped us out a ton in recent years. Timmy Sisson with TNT Fabrication. Rob Butts and Lynette Lawless Butts. I'd like to also give my condolences to Lynette. Her father, Fred Wolf, passed away about a month ago now, maybe a little bit longer. Just a great guy. He was always a supporter of mine as well. Kyle Grothwell with Grothwell LLC Custom Vehicles came on board last year. We actually ran a pavement race with the must-see sprints at the Sandusky Speedway. And he's a big pavement fan, so he came on board with the Phil Capitais 12 and stayed on board with us for this season. So I'd like to give a thank you to him as well. Bart Rader at Fancy Graphics, like I mentioned earlier. Gressman Power Sports has helped us with our engine program in the recent years. So big thank you to them. And, everybody who's supported me in the past, Hermes Parker Concrete, Jeff Ward, who owns the 33W. When my brother drove for him, he was helping us out as well. So I'd like to say thank you to him. Just too many people to thank specifically. But I'm always grateful to everyone who has helped us out over the course of the years because it truly did not go unnoticed.
Well, Mr. Griffith, I appreciate you jumping on. Looking forward to seeing you at the track hopefully this season, and good luck in 2025.
Well, hey, thank you, sir. Oh, and I'd like to give a shout-out to my buddy Nate Spieth at In Season Media. He's been huge with me. He's helped me with your race day graphics, race car drivers, if you're listening. Hit him up. He'll definitely get you pointed in the right direction. So, but thank you for having me, Josh. I really do appreciate it. I'm looking forward to. Hey, if you're gonna be at Eldora on Saturday? I have tickets, so we can. We'll have to get a Eldora Speedway selfie, and maybe I'll get you a toilet water on me.
I'll never turn those down. So that sounds like a plan. Luke Griffith, driver of the 11G Sprint Car. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, sir.
As always, want to give a shout out to Victory Fuel. From Purple Potion to Throttle Punch to Lucky Lemon, fueled by electrolytes, charged with vitamins, and kid-friendly. Fuel your victory at drinkvictory.com and use the code Jesters10 at checkout to save. drinkvictory.com and use the code Jesters10 at checkout to save.
I drank a beer. I drank another beer. 3 beers. 4 beers. Oh, no.
This week's race recap and racing to come. May 6th, LaSalle Speedway, Flow Racing Night in America. Bobby Pierce with the win, Ricky Thornton Jr. in second, Nick Hoffman in third. May 7th, Lincoln Speedway in the Gettysburg Clash with the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars, where Buddy Kofoid would get the win. Chase Dietz in second, Anthony Macri in third. Spoon River Speedway and Flow Racing Night in America, Jonathan Davenport with the win, Hudson O'Neill in second, and Bobby Pierce in third. May 8th, Lincoln Speedway in Illinois, Flow Racing Night in America, where Devin Moran gets the win, Ricky Thornton Jr. in second, and Brian Shirley in third. May 9th, Attica with AFCS 410s, where Cap Henry gets the win, Craig Minton in second, and Nate Dussel in third. AFCS 305s, Jamie Miller with a victory, Dustin Stroop in second, and Seth Schneider in third. The Dirt Nerd Late Models, Rusty Schlink with the win. He wins once again. That's all he does is win. Will he lose? I don't know at this point. Rusty Schlink with the victory. Mike Borez in second, and Ryan Missler in third. Bloomington Speedway and the USAC Sprints, Kyle Cummins with the win. Robert Ballou in second, and Logan Seavey in third. Circle City Raceway, Steel Block Sprints. Trace Mailer gets the victory. Wes Pinkerton in second, and Cody Finley in third. In the mods, Derek Groomer with the win. Bradley Jamison in second, and Tyler Lowmiller in third. In the stocks, Zach Sasser gets the victory. Crown Vics, Zach Deach gets the win. In the micros, Mike Landis grabs the checkered flag. Farmer City Raceway, Lucas Oil, Late Models, Ricky Thornton Jr. with the win. Brandon Shepard in second, and Hudson O'Neill in third. Humboldt Speedway and the Extreme Midgets, Jacob Denny gets the win. Gavin Miller in second, and Chase McDermott in third. I-96 with GLSS, where Jared Horseman would get the victory. Scotty Thiel in second, and Max Stanball in third. In the GLTS, Ricky Lewis gets the win. Keith Sheffer Jr. in second, and Steve Irwin in third. Lakeside Speedway High Limit, Rico Abreu with the victory. Tyler Courtney in second, and Justin Peck in third. Limaland and the Mike Stryker Memorial was there. Myself, nice crowd on hand for the USAC Midwest Thunder Midgets, where Bryce Massengale would win his second Mike Stryker Memorial. Bryce Massengale with the victory, Zach Weigel in second, and Chet Gerke in third. Gunnar Lucius would be put to the tail before the race started for passing the pace car prior to the start of the feature, a rule there at Limaland. And of course, as you could guess, Gunnar Lucius was not thrilled. Went from the tail all the way up to 8th in that one. In the modifieds, Dylan Woodling would get the victory. Dylan Newsbaum in second, and Mike Learman in third. In the stock cars, Todd Sherman with the victory. Houston Knoll in second, and Chris Douglas in third. In the Dirt Track Truck Series, Raleigh Hayter with the victory. Dustin Moore in second, and Joey Hayter would round out the podium. Moeller Raceway Park, Late Models, Billy Green from 8th to the win. Derek Fisher in second, and Seth Daniels in third. In the modifieds, Matt Hamilton would get the win. Jeremy Rayburn in second, and Jimmy Lennox Jr. in third. In the sport mods, Landon Barker with the victory. In the compacts, Christopher Meyer with the win. In the legends, Quade Schoonover with the win. And in the Crown Vics, Andrew Saville with the victory. Rockcastle Speedway and the Finn Watson Memorial, Schaefer's Oil Southern Nationals with the late models. Garrett Smith gets the win, Corey Hedgecock in second, and Jimmy Owens in third. May 10th, an Atomic American Ironman late models, where Josh Rice will get the win, Colton Burdett in second, RJ Conley in third. IMCA Race Saver 305s, Rod Henning gets the win, Jacob Stickle in second, and Jalen Montgomery in third. In the sport mod, Zach Carr with the win. In the legends, once again, Quade Schoonover with the victory. Moving to Brownstown Speedway with late models, Devin Gilpin with the win, Josh Bowler in second, and Tyler Collins in third. Super Stocks, Isaiah Sasser with the win, Greg Amick in second, and Zach Sasser in third. In the Pure Stocks, Blake Hull with the win. In the Hornets, Michael Brewer gets the victory. In the Crown Vics, Matt Cranmer with the win. Fairbury and Lucas Oil late models, and I'm not sure this track can produce a bad race. 2 and 3 wide, maybe even 4 every once in a while for the lead and for second for multiple laps throughout this race. Late in the race, the top 2 in Lucas Oil points, Ricky Thornton Jr. and Devin Moran, get involved in an accident. And the victory would go to Superman, Jonathan Davenport. Jonathan Davenport gets the win, Brandon Shepard in second, and Bobby Pierce in third. Florence Speedway with modifieds, Jeremy Rayburn with the win, Caleb Burgess in second, and Colin Green in third. Late models, Josh Dietz with the win, Nicholas Bird in second, and Dustin Noby in third. Sport mods, Eric Shepard Jr. with the win, Compacts, Corbin Dalton with the win. Crown Vics, Jason Bashman gets the victory. Fremont AFCS 410s, Darren Nida with the win, Craig Mintz in second, and Cap Henry in third. AFCS 305s, Jamie Miller with the win, Dustin Stroop in second, and Blaine Keckler in third. In the trucks, Sean Valeni from 8th to the victory, Keith Sorg in second, and Dustin Keegan in third. Hobstadt, Dirt Tracks and Rib Bracks, and the USAC Sprints, Kyle Cummins with the win, Kevin Thomas Jr. in second, and Mitchell Moles in third. Lake Cumberland Speedway, Schaefer's Oil, Southern Nationals with the late models, Jimmy Owens with the win, Garrett Smith in second, and Justin Ratliff in third. Lawrenceburg in the Junior Clark Memorial for the Pro Stocks, Gary Hume with the win, Will McRoberts in second, and Danny Eckler in third. In the modifieds, Matt Hamilton with a win, Nick Snell in second, and Dalton Cheney in third. In the Hornets, Landon Ramirez gets the win, Cordell Moore in second, and Joshua Leinhart in third. Crown Vics, AJ Clark with the victory, Ed Johnson in second, and Ryan McCracken in third. Mount Peter in their race for the Roses. In the modifieds, Todd Sherman with the win, Dylan Nussbaum in second, and Dalton Smith in third. Stocks, Tony Anderson gets the win, Bill Lewis in second, and Tyler Bradley in third. Hornets, Josh Gamlin gets the win, Brian Isley in second, and Steve Henderson in third. And the Street Stocks, Caleb Hinckley gets the victory. Mudlick Valley with late models, Lucas Crooks with the win, Nikki Pennington in second, and Michael Lefevers in third. Modifieds, Josh Thomas gets the win, Tyler Allison in second, and Mason Bilyeu in third. In the Bombers, BJ Branham gets the win. In the Sport Mods, Dallas Pickleheimer gets the win. And in the Hornets, Jamie Harper with the victory. Sharon Speedway in 410s, AJ Flick with the win, Ryan Smith in second, Tim Schaefer in third. The B-Mods, Garrett Calvert will get the win, Jacob Euchre in second, and Brian Wagner in third. And in the Street Stocks, Chris Schneider with the victory, Paul Davis in second, Steve Dapolito in third. Sycamore Speedway season opener, IRA Sprints, Paul Nienheiser with the victory, Joe B. Miller in second, and Kyle Shutt in third. Tri-City Speedway High Limit, Corey Day with the victory, Brad Sweet in second, and Justin Peck in third. Tyler County Speedway and the Tammy Clegg Tribute for the Edge, Hot Mods, Steve Magyar with the victory, Jason Todd in second, and Lee Brightwell rounds out the podium. Williams Grove in the Morgan Cup with the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars. Anthony Macri keeps the cup in Pennsylvania. Anthony Macri wins. David Gravel in second, and Danny Dietrich in third. In the 81 Speedway Extreme Midgets, Jacob Denny with the win. Once again, Gavin Miller in second, and Kenny McIntosh in third. Also want to give a quick shout out to Ricky Peterson Jr. for his win at Tri-City Raceway Park over the weekend. And racing to come, as always, check with the series website or their social media to confirm. I had to check multiple avenues in order to make sure I had what I think are most of the races here coming up. So we're going to start with May 12th in Kokomo with High Limit. May 13th, Marshalltown, Flow Racing Night in America. May 14th, Fremont and High Limit. Oswegan's going to have the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars. May 15th, Eagle Raceway, Lucas Oil Late Models. Oswegan with the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars. Raceway 7 with the World of Outlaw Late Models. May 16th, Attica and AFCS 410s, as well as AFCS 305s and Late Models. Belleville High Banks, USAC Silver Crown, and USAC Midgets. Circle City in the Northern All-Star Late Models. Dodge County Fairgrounds and IRA Sprints, Eagle Raceway and Lucas Oil Late Models, Limaland, the Run for the Rabbit with GLSS, Mods and Stocks, Marion Center Raceway and the World of Outlaw Late Models, Moeller Raceway and Compacts, $1,000 to win, Late Models and Mods, as well as 2 other divisions, Ohio Valley Speedway, Late Models, Mods, and the Tri-State Outlaw Street Stocks, as well as 3 other divisions, Quincy Raceway and Lotus 40 with Mars Late Models, Ransomville and High Limit, Southern Raceway with USCS, Sugar Creek Raceway with Hunt the Front. May 17th, Belleville Highbanks and the USAC Silver Crown and USAC Midgets for the final night. Brownstown with Late Models, Stocks, Crown Vics, and Hornets. Eagle Raceway with Highbank Heist and the Lucas Oil Late Models. Eldora is going to have Family Night with USAC Midwest Thunder Midgets, Mods, and Stocks. Florence with Late Models, Sports Mods, Compacts, and Crown Vics. Fremont's going to have AFCS 410s, AFCS 305s, and dirt trucks. Goods Raceway is going to have their regular 7-division show. Highland Speedway, Mars Late Models, and Mars Modifieds. Lawrenceburg with Northern All-Star Late Models. Marion Center Raceway with the Connor Bobick Memorial with the World of Outlaw Late Models. Smoky Mountain Speedway and Hunt the Front. Utica Rome is going to have High Limit. And May 18th, Angel Park Speedway with IRA Sprints. Bedford Speedway with World of Outlaw Late Models. Cornwall Motor Speedway with the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars. And Sweet Springs Motor Complex with USAC National Midgets.
Goodbye. Mwah! And good night, bang.
Thanks as always for listening to the Dirt Court Jesters podcast. Follow us on Spotify, X, Facebook, and YouTube. And we hope to see you guys at the track.